Join me, Adam Fleming.
And me, Chris Mason, for our podcast, Newscast.
As we tear through the biggest news headlines of the day.
Yeah, we're not shutting down the whole economy, obviously, again, so it's nothing like what we saw during the pandemic.
We also have loads of special guests joining the podcast
to help us understand what's really going on.
And there's no doubt about the constant media headlines have been driving people to think more about their finances.
Go behind the headline hype with our podcast every weekday. Newscast. Listen on BBC Sounds.
I'm Ros Atkins. Welcome to Outside Source. Well, as I'm talking to you, two crucial World Cup matches are kicking off. The US and Iran are old foes on the world stage, and they are playing each other, vying for one of the spots in the last 16. The other two teams with a very close interest in that are England and Wales. These are live pictures from a fan zone in London because the match has just kicked off.
It's going to be a tough one, but I think we've got to win the game, so I think we'll go 2-0 England.
We can hope for USA and Iran to draw and us beat England 1-0. I'd be happy with that.
We're going to be live in Doha, in Swansea and in Washington, as well as at that fan zone in London. Also across this hour, we'll talk about Ukraine. NATO's chief is accusing Russia of using winter as a weapon of war after it's repeatedly targeted Ukraine's power grid.
President Putin is trying to weaponize winter to force Ukrainians to freeze or flee.
And we'll update you on the protests against China's zero COVID policy as the country's top security agency calls for a crackdown against what it describes as hostile forces. Right, straight to Qatar. Two really important World Cup matches, places in the last 16 at stake. You can follow them through the live page on the BBC Sport app. Of course, we'll keep you up to date here too. We've got 4 teams playing 2 matches simultaneously. They're all competing for a spot in the final 16. So we have Iran against the US in one match. This is their first World Cup clash since a famous one back in 1998. Also playing England and Wales in what some people are calling the Battle of Britain. Let's go straight to Doha and bring in my colleague Lucy Hockings. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Ros. We're, of course, keeping across those big matches that have just kicked off. All the fan zones here. Some of them are showing the Wales-England match. Some of them are showing the USA-Iran match. But before we get to that, I've got to tell you the names of 2 more of the final 16 that we know now. And that is Senegal and the Netherlands. They joined Brazil, Portugal and France after winning against Ecuador and Qatar, respectively. But, Ros, it has been an absolutely brilliant run for the African team. I mean, they've reached the World Cup knockout stages for only the 2nd time in history. Their fans went berserk today. And the Dutch, meanwhile, go into the next round with an unbeaten record after failing to qualify 4 years ago. So a big day for the Dutch too. But sadly today, for the hosts, saw an end to Qatar's dismal involvement. This is their home World Cup, of course, but they have become the first host nation to exit the tournament with 3 group stage losses. And that means that they finish bottom of their group with no points. But let's turn to these 2 matches today that we're watching very closely. England versus Wales and Iran versus the USA. That's happening in Group B. A must-win game for Wales to stand any chance of progressing. England need a draw to guarantee that they go through. So how about this then, for a pep talk for Wales from one young fan in Swansea.
Look, it doesn't matter if we win or lose. We've made history. We've overcome 64 years. The last time we was back in the World Cup, was back in 1958, and it's glad to have it back in. But if we do win, we might be onto the knockout rounds, and that'll make history for all of Wales. So come on!
Come on! Everyone in Wales holding their breath right now. It's kicked off. Let's take you live to Swansea. We can join our correspondent who is there, Thomas Morgan. Thomas, describe the atmosphere for us where you are.
Well, it's just like as excited as it was